Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about AI. Myself, I have been a software engineer for almost 10 years and my main stacks are JavaScript and TypeScript. I have worked with a lot of JavaScript frameworks, React.js mainly, and React Native, Vue.js and stuff like that. And for the past 10 years, I've seen many hypes and hype cycles, and now it's AI. So today I want to talk about AI and what it actually changed for me. Let's start with before AI. When I start work, there was almost no AI tools available. So how was life back then? It was a lot of Googling, and Stack Overflow was one of the main very popular hub that contained a lot of answers to a lot of programming questions. And we spent a lot of time actually typing code out. There was no auto completion tools at that time, so we have to literally type all the words. And when we want to work on a new library, let's say a new npm package, we actually read the documentation, because when we are planning for new feature, we need to make sure that it can do the things that we want it to do. So there was no excuses. We have to read the whole thing. A lot of trial and error. We always write the code first and then try to execute it, and then we see if it works or not. And code reviews took a very long time for me. Maybe it's just me, but every time I code review, I just want to make sure the PR is following the standards and there's no weird business logics going on here. So that itself also took a long time. If the PR, if the author has introduced a new library, I want to make sure that it's being implemented on the right way based on the library's documentation. So no choice, I have to go down and read the thing and then come back and see if it's correct. And it was quite common that we always have tons of tabs open in the browser, because for one bug, we have to open a bunch of Stack Overflow links and GitHub threads, and you have to control click everything to make sure that you can backtrack and what other people have said about the issue, how other people resolve the issue, am I using the same version of the library, a lot of things. And when you actually find the answer to your bug, you are exhausted. Like half the day is gone just to do the research and finding the details. And the code reviews felt heavier than actually writing the code. But that was the normal life back then. All the developers, all the engineers were doing the same thing. We used to go ask our colleagues if you have encountered this kind of issue before and what was the answer you took. Sometimes it's faster than starting to Google your problems. And one day, suddenly everyone's talking about AI. AI was suddenly here. Everyone started using ChatGPT, but I was quite hesitant, to be honest. I completely ignored it, and I was still doing the same methods I was doing before AI. I didn't trust it for real work. I didn't believe that it can actually give me something valuable. Then eventually, I started to use ChatGPT to summarize my articles, especially when I had an issue and I need to read 5 different Medium blogs. Those 5 articles has their own different ways of writing based on the author, and sometimes the answer to the question is somewhere in middle of that blog. And what I did was just copy the whole article and dump it to ChatGPT, and then I asked my question to find the answer from this content. That worked. That was cool. But I didn't trust ChatGPT for any of the decisions. I was using it to just save the time that I spent for reading blogs. It was more like a smarter Google for me, and it felt like a helper to me instead of a real teammate. And it was good for summaries, but it wasn't good for thinking, and I was not impressed yet. And this is probably the turning point. Suddenly I had to work on Python projects, which I have never done before. I was from the JavaScript world, and to me Python always looked a bit weird, like without semicolons and the indentation matters and stuff like that. So I didn't really wanted to learn Python earlier. And then once I had to work on Python, I thought of giving AI a try to see if it can actually help me with this. Because usually when I wanted to learn a new programming language, it usually takes at least few months to understand the core principles and design patterns, especially the syntaxes, and I need to actually write code, execute stuff, and play around with it to get a good understanding. So this time I started with setting up GitHub Copilot with Claude Sonnet 4, and it was when I actually felt like AI has come quite far. It wasn't so dumb anymore. It was quite intelligent to understand and tell me what I really needed to learn. The differences is especially the syntax didn't matter anymore, and I could really focus on the structure and architecture. I could really focus on the structure and the design. I stopped memorizing things and start understanding the principles. Basically, the language got out of my sight. It was the same engineering principles that applies to this language as well. Still, there's new design patterns, but the effort I had to put into learning a new language was drastically reduced. Yeah, I was totally mind blown. I think what's really important is the way that I used AI in this case. I asked AI to write the code, and I spent time to actually read every single code that it wrote, and I understood it further by asking questions. And then based on the answers or the explanations to my questions, there are certain places that I can ask the AI to improve it, and then only I commit my code. The very important line here is that I didn't blindly trust AI, and I still don't, and you should not too. Even though I spend this time to read the AI's code and do this conversation, that still is actually extremely faster than me sitting down and learning Python from the beginning and then start working on this project. Especially when it comes to the project structures or exception handling from Python point of view, and how do we run async operations in Python, stuff like that. The syntax is totally not my worry anymore. It's more like, is the principles being applied correctly? Every time I further validate the AI's code, it was never bad. It was pretty good, yeah. Since then, I have been following up with AI. I actually started working on a couple of AI projects as well. So I work closely with certain models as well, and my observation is actually they are getting better, drastically getting better. And currently I am using Sonnet 4.5 as my code assist. And the highlights are the architecture planning is really good. The understanding of context is not bad at all. If you want to add a new feature to an existing code base, it can understand the whole project very fast and then create the specific files that's needed with all the functions declared in a matter of minutes. And onboarding to new projects has never been faster like this ever before. Like, I had to work on this really old jQuery project which had a lot of deprecated libraries and stuff. I had to add a new feature to it, and imagine me trying to get this project up and running now with the new Node versions and all. But with Copilot, that was just a matter of minutes. In fact, I contributed to the project more than expected. I even managed to upgrade the whole project to the latest Node version and fix all the compatibility issues in one go. And that's very effective. And the other thing I really love about using AI is that it reduces your mental load. You know, when we want to understand certain business logic, we have to open all the files related to that specific feature, and we need to put everything in our brain, like, okay, this goes here, okay, this calls this function, and that calls that function, and this one returns this and that one comes back, and it's a lot of memory in our brain. But with AI, it's almost non-existent because we can just ask the AI to understand the project for us and explain why this functions here, or like why is this feature is breaking. Reminds me of another example that when I was tasked to design a fully automated workflow management system with Python, and usually I need to do a lot of drawings and sit down and think a lot of aspects of the whole thing before I come up with the baseline of the architecture. But this time it was extremely fast because AI was able to give me the baseline in a matter of minutes. So what I did is just go through it, try to see if it missed any of the important aspects of the architecture like security, error handling, logging, stuff like that, and then just adjust here and there, and that was pretty solid. Again, I want to highlight that we should never commit code that we don't understand. AI always writes the first draft version of your code. You should review it next. I actually treat AI like my junior engineer with infinite energy. So I am still responsible for what goes into the production. Okay, opinion time. I think AI will not replace engineers, but AI will definitely replace the engineers who don't use AI. Why? Simply the efficiency gap is massive. An engineer who uses AI can do the same task at least 2 times faster than an engineer who doesn't use AI. This is pretty noticeable already in the industry, and recruitments tend towards engineers who knows AI, who uses AI for their day-to-day life. And this is not something we can just ignore anymore. And on-demand learning is not going to be optional anymore. With AI, everyone and anyone can ask questions and then it can explain it to you. You can ask questions back. You can clarify the thing extremely fast. It's very interactive learning instead of reading something. So in the new market, new AI era, almost all the engineers are expected to have the ability of on-demand learning, especially because of AI. Like even to me, starting on an unknown project is not scarier anymore, and I actually spend more time deciding things instead of guessing things, which I used to do earlier. Yeah, it feels like cheating, but it's really not. It's the new normal. I already highlighted this a few times, but again, a big risk that I see with AI is that the engineers doesn't understand their own code, and that's not something acceptable. Using AI doesn't mean we can just go and blame AI for the faulty code or the buggy code. It's still the engineer's responsibility to make sure that the changes that they push, they take responsibility for it. And then another pattern I see is that when in the code review, the reviewer raises concerns of using certain code, and the author again uses AI to explain the thing. And if it doesn't fulfill the feedbacks from the reviewers, this becomes a loop. That wouldn't happen if the author understands what he's committing. So my point is that with AI, it actually increases the responsibility for engineers for their own code. And this is a bit of a hot take, but I'm gonna say it anyway, that not every project needs AI features. I think AI is overused. Because it's trending doesn't mean we should really use AI features for every single project. Sometimes just a few lines of code can fix the problem and bring the value that it's needed much faster and cheaper than using AI solutions. And complexity is not innovation. Using an AI solution to build a chatbot makes perfect sense. And using it to build an RAG makes sense. But using it to do business logics for you, that's just a waste. The governance of AI usage is very important in my opinion as well. If an engineering team is using AI tools, we should know what we are using Is our source codes supposed to be private? That means you should know where your source codes are being uploaded when you're using them with AI. We should always understand the code that we are pushing to production. We should not think to replace engineers with AI, but to get the engineers AI literate so they can use AI as a tool to increase the efficiency of their work. So finally, I think AI will not replace engineers, but AI will expose the engineers and use AI to think faster, not to stop thinking. Because AI is not a replacement, it's a multiplier. And finally, if you don't adapt to use AI, someone else will. That's it for today. See you guys next time.